Welcome to another episode of Conversations. Today we have, I wrote it down, Heike.
Yes.
Hello,
Hi. Hi,
welcome.
Don.
So happy to have you here. Heike is a fitness and midlife expert. She's also a podcast host. But we're going to talk about midlife. Why do people envision a stop sign when they think about midlife? Why is midlife just like, we're done?
Interestingly enough, I saw a YouTube clip where somebody, I don't know who that person even was, walked around and asked random people what they thought, what age was midlife. People are really confused about that. Some said, oh, 30. Some said, oh, 80 maybe. Other people were like, I think 50s. Others said menopause. But midlife is a very flexible, and the way I look at it, midlife is between the age of 40 to 80, because so many of us are still super active as we get older. It's not like back in the days. I'm 63. When you think of a 63-year-old saying, oh, yeah, well, they're not as in good shape, they're frail, their brain, although I have to admit, my brain sometimes has a brain fart as well.
That happens to everybody.
And so when you think about that, it's a big window. So you go anywhere from perimenopause, menopause to way postmenopausal in life with varied stages in midlife. And there's so many different aspects we can address in midlife.
Yeah, well, I think too that a lot of it is hereditary, and what you're exposed to. And nowadays, like so many young and old go to the gym all the time. That was never a thing when I was growing up. My parents didn't go to the gym, or people, friends, my peers, they weren't going to the gym. And now it's such a thing for people to, is it just because people are more sedentary for jobs now? People are sitting at desks? Or why is it that everybody's pursuing that?
I think in all those 40 years I've been coaching people, and as I aged with my group, because I kept going, okay, now I'm training 30-year-olds, 40-year-olds. So I literally, people are growing with me. My oldest client is 98.
Oh my gosh.
And at this point, my youngest is 35. But I had clients that were 8 years old until I decided, okay, we got to narrow down the niche a little bit more.
Right.
Um, but I think it's a combination. We live longer. We want to do so healthier and stronger. We don't want to sit around like maybe our grandparents who were probably worked down from. I look at my mom. My mom is 81, and she has worked really hard in her life
Right.
physically. So she did hard labor, gardening, and
Yeah.
whatever they were
Just
doing,
active.
just being super active, and not necessarily by choice, but
Mhm.
because of circumstances. And now, and you really pointed it out as well, is we're sitting so much. There's the TV shows, there's the Netflix, there's the computers, there's our phones, where we constantly sit and do something. Or we're reading our books now online. And so there's a lot more sitting than I can remember. And I think that Joseph Pilates was onto something in the 1950s, where he was in New York, and he started really pushing for people to take Pilates. And I know that's a little bit of a side story,
Oh, yeah, no, go ahead.
but Pilates, uh, nobody wanted Joseph Pilates exercises. They all said, all the doctors, all the physical fit people they were promoting at this time were like, this is bah humbug. This is not good for the people. And you with your machines and your apparatuses, and you are not a trained medic. You have no medical history. You have no certifications. But I think he saw already back then how sedentary people were becoming, and
Mhm.
how less active with the automation is. Like, you have everything automated. You have a car, you walk less. And he saw already back then that we need more movement, because all the movements in Pilates are really geared towards the core strength, to be flexible, to be strong, and to have good posture. And that's what everybody is looking for when I have people come to the studio, or what we're seeing right now.
Right. Okay, pretend go back in time to before knowing everything about Pilates because I don't know a lot about it. Do you have to have the machines to do it?
No,
Okay.
no,
Do you have to go somewhere to do it?
no,
Okay. So the moves are things that you can do at home on your own.
yeah.
Okay. And then what kind of results can you expect from Pilates over lifting weights or going for a run? What can you get
I
from that?
think they're completely different buckets.
Okay.
When you look at it, although I think that Pilates is a lot like strength training if you use the machines because they have springs.
Okay.
If you don't have the springs, you most likely at some point will use a Dynaband for resistance. Or Pilates, as I like to look at it, is a body weight exercise. If you do the Pilates mat work, which you can do at home, you can do wherever you are on vacation. So there's no need to buy anything but just learn the method. And it's built upon core strength, which we need to lift weights, core strength, which we need for running. We need balance for running and weightlifting. So it is a combination. I would never say to anybody, only do Pilates.
Okay.
We must cross train because with Pilates, you get stretching and strengthening and balance all at the same time. It's almost a little bit like functional training, incorporating the whole body and the mind. Where strength training, you can say, "Oh, today I'm working only my arms.
Right.
I'm going to get my arms really, really strong, and I'm done." Whereas with running, you're looking for heart health, another important component in
Mhm.
midlife.
Right. What got you on this journey? What were you always into fitness?
Never.
So what happened?
I just recently said, I've never have been as fit as I look now until my son, was pregnant when I was in 27 with my first son. And my OBGYN back then said, "You're pregnant. You must rest, eat bonbons, do nothing." Can you imagine this now?
Right.
It's like, no, women want to be active until they drop that baby.
That's no kidding. Yes.
And I gained 50 pounds. And back then, since I didn't have a fitness background and didn't know what to do, I didn't know what to do. I needed help getting this weight off and being less flabby, quite honestly. 50 pounds is a big baby, and your skin gets really stretchy, and you just feel not so great in your body. And I
Right.
wanted to feel more confident, feel stronger. And that's how it started at the YMCA here in Maryland, and I still live in Maryland, where I started taking classes at the local basement at the local church in the basement. That's how I got into it.
Oh, that's awesome. And then you probably just got addicted because that's what I hear from people. They're like, if then they get to a point where it's like, if I don't work out, feel awful and I've got to get back in there. I've got to get back then. I feel like crap. Like your body must just adjust.
That's true, but for me, it was more of a liberation in the sense that I had worked full time before, and then
Mhm.
I became a stay-home mom. And I was bored out of my mind. I wanted to talk about something else, but husband and
Yeah.
baby and how many poops my son took today. I just needed to get out. So I was in this small group of other moms who were in the same situation. And one said, "We go to this class. They work on our abs and there's music and you're gonna love it." And I did. And it just helped me get out of that loneliness that we experience sometimes when we become a mom, a stay-at-home
Mhm.
mom. Just like when we become older, we also can get lonely because we have nobody
Yeah.
around anymore. Everybody left the home, everybody left
Right.
the nest. And so to me, it was a more about liberation. I started making a whole whooping $7 before taxes a class. So I was getting really rich. No, but
Yeah.
it was really that and camaraderie. I met other women that were in different parts of life that just wanted to get stronger, healthier, in better shape.
Yeah. When you're a triathlete now,
Yep.
that's
Yep.
huge.
Yep. So it really started, I mean, it's like you said, it was addictive. So I became the aerobics teacher. Then I said, "Oh, I need to learn more about muscle." So I became a personal trainer. And all through my pregnancies, I also have a daughter who's 3 years younger than my son. I started teaching pre-postnatal classes. So I would be there with my big belly teaching, and then after I had one of the kids, I would go and teach with a baby in the carriage. Um, and it's really like I wanted more. I wanted to learn more, and I found it interesting to learn what exercise does to different bodies. How do they respond? What happens when you start training for a marathon? I'm
Mhm.
like, great. My girlfriend said to me, "Heike, we are personal trainers now. We need to learn how to bodybuild, really big muscles when we get a client, which we never got, that really wants to be big muscles. We
Right.
know how to train them." So I said, okay. So we both, read all the bodybuilding books on the planet. And we learned how through the books how to build muscles. And eventually I competed in bodybuilding for 3 years, posing with as big muscles as I could muster. And then I thought, oh, it's very restrictive eating. It's a very lonely lifestyle.
Yeah.
Oh, let's start running marathons. And then, it just kept evolving. And then it became ultra marathons, which is I ran a 50 miler. And
Wow.
then age set in, my knees were hurting. And so but I learned through the process. I learned nutrition, which also I'm a certified sports nutritionist. How do we serve our bodies the best with what we do? And it comes in so handy because, as you said, I'm an Ironman triathlete now, but I have a bum knee. So I
Mhm.
had to stop running, and I'm hoping to prolong a knee replacement, which I've done for 2 years successfully now.
Yay.
I know, with all the things I know and all the things I am doing for my body. So this really excites me as we get older, and I say, "Okay, I know exactly what you need. Oh, you got this bum knee. Oh, you got this crappy shoulder.
Right.
Oh, you have low back problems. Let's do these things."
That's awesome. Well, life experience, I mean, that helps. That's the biggest teacher. So you know how to do the physical stuff, but like I would be your biggest nightmare because I cannot get myself motivated. Like you would have to pry me out of my house to get me into a gym or somewhere. I can try like nobody's business. And then I like 2 weeks into it, I'm like, well, it's more than I was doing. And so then I just stop. I cannot keep the ball rolling. What do you say to that?
Why do you think it is?
I don't know. I just
Don't
lose
know.
interest. I don't well, no, I know why it is. Because I am impatient and I want to go to the gym one day and do like 10 jumping jacks and have my body look like a supermodel.
Thank you for your honesty, Don. So many people face that. We're setting ourselves up basically for failure. With the intention that motivation has to be 100% all the time. We're rocking motivation, but motivation is going up and down. One
Yeah.
day you feel more motivated than the next day you are tired, the next day you just are too stressed to do anything, and the next day you feel great again, and you're like, but when we go through these emotions, we tend to feel like failures, that we
Mhm.
can't stick to it, that we can't what it's just going to the gym once a week and I can't even do that. Maybe it's not the right thing for you. Maybe
Okay.
the best thing for you would be just going for a walk. Do some calisthenics at home.
Mhm.
Do what I like to call little exercise bites. You're in the kitchen cooking and you're waiting for the microwave to beep. You could do kitchen counter push-ups. You could do 10 squats. You could do lunges through your kitchen if you wanted to. So make it more functional for what you do throughout the day
Mhm.
and view it less as almost like a punishment.
Right.
I want my body to look this way. And because I want it to look this way, I must do X, Y, and Z. And this is what we've taught from the fitness industry. But it's not for everybody. And we're
Right.
not we're not losers because we're not sticking with it. It's just not the right thing. But if you can sneak in stuff, like I said, you're in the kitchen, you're doing your kitchen counter
Mhm.
push-ups. The answer I always get, "But Heike, this is just like 3 or 5 measly push-ups." Yeah, but over time, you say, "I do more." You say, "Oh, this has really become easy. I'm gonna do it a little harder." So it's like giving you a little taste
Yeah,
of what you could feel like if you were to do a little bit more and a little bit, different things around your exercise without
right.
having to pay for a gym, without having to, buy a gadget that you'll never use. A
Yeah.
client of mine bought a rowing machine. He's super excited that he bought this rowing machine because rowing machine is his thing. I'm like, great. Guess what the rowing machine does now? Collects clothing.
Yeah.
He hasn't used it in a year. And then recently I asked him, I said, "Well, how's your rowing machine going?" It's like, "Oh, no, now, blah, blah, blah." I'm like, that's not an explanation. What is it? And he says, "I don't feel like it anymore." I'm like,
Mhm.
okay, fair enough. But you buy this $3,000 thing that you just don't feel like it anymore. Maybe he picks it up again, but that's why I'm always saying don't buy stuff. Do things that you can do on your own or hire me as your coach and say, "Heike, I need help." And I say, "Okay, Don, let's go on Zoom Monday morning, 8 a.m. I'll train you." And you will show up because you're paying me. And
Right.
I will say, "Don, where are you? I'm waiting for you. I'm here in Maryland, you're in Oklahoma. We have a time difference, but you're not showing up." So I will hold you accountable for this action steps you want to take.
Yeah. I think that was a good thing for you too when you were first starting out is making it as a community. It wasn't just all about the exercise. That was just a commonality. You guys just
Yep.
all wanted a reason to get out of your house and to talk about things other than your baby's bowels.
Yep.
Yeah. No, I
Yep.
think that's great. What is it about balance that changes as we get older? Why is that such an issue? Because I know that older people, they're just fall and all that. What happens with our balance?
It's we always think about older people. We're thinking
Mhm.
60s, 70s, 80s, but you wouldn't believe how many 40-year-olds I have that can't balance worth anything.
Oh.
And that's having been teaching for 40 years, that is something relatively new.
Mm.
And I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, okay, they're sitting more, they're having desk jobs, they're not as active as they used to be.
Mhm.
So now this shows up earlier, this balance business that they can't balance. As we get older, what naturally happens is we stop hearing or we don't hear as well. Our eyesight gets worse and our proprioception about where things are
Mhm.
becomes different. So that's when you see a lot of older people walking stooped because they want to make sure that's where their foot goes, is that they can see where they're going because they can't quite see if there's a pebble, if there's a sidewalk that's broken up. So you can see that. So it ties in with the natural aging process, but it's primarily the hearing loss and the visual that impacts why we're not balanced as well. And I saw a really cute Instagram reel the other day. Was today. And it was about balance. It was a mother, her she's in her 50s, mid 50s. Her one of her daughters is 28 and the other one is 35. And what they did is they crossed their hands on their chest, closed their eyes, and tried to stay on one leg. Now, the youngest one didn't do too bad. The middle one didn't do so good. And the mom was just falling all over the place. And she's 55, 57.
Oh my
But
gosh.
it's just when we close our eyes, we lose this proprioception that we have when we see well. So these are really the major points. But again, I go back now and I look at my 40-year-olds and I'm thinking, I can balance better than you. What's going on here?
Right. Yeah. What's happening? That's crazy. Here's something funny. I thought it was interesting. I told you I help the elderly, and I went to a doctor's appointment with one of them, and she had to go to a foot doctor. And he said that as people have more birthdays, they lose the fat in their feet.
True too. Yep.
Yeah, did not even think about that, and in his office, all over were pictures of little babies' feet, the fat little toes, little piggies, squishy, and then, he said, "The reason why you're having a problem with the bottom of your foot is there's just when you are touching the ground, it's more like bone on the ground because there's just you're losing that padding," and he said that that can be a lot of reasons why older people get, hesitant or, insecure
Mhm.
about their footing and they can shuffle their feet or, just they are so much more mindful and not in a hurry to move because I thought that was so interesting. It's
That is
crazy
very
what
true.
happens to our
I
body.
didn't think about that. But also when you think about feet, a lot of older adults have immobile ankles. So we do the point and flex or calf raise. This is one of my favorite exercises I teach my older clients. And it's really interesting how the lack of mobility in the ankle affects the gait. So now you have less padding on the feet. You may also have neuropathy, which tends to show up when you're older. So you don't feel anything at the bottom of your feet. And then you have ankles that are not moving as well.
Mhm.
And that again, that also ends up with the shuffle. So it all is a combined, also very individual,
Yeah.
but that's why I think exercise is super duper important. And, in all my courses, we include functional fitness. We include Pilates. This is just part of what we do. It's like looking at the whole body.
Mm.
And one of the things is that in my world, I don't like to talk about weight loss. There's so much conversation about that we're too fat,
Yeah.
too skinny, too this, too that as
Right.
women. And I'm like, we're healthy at any weight. You look at not even your body mass index. Did you see that reel about the athlete that has a 30% body mass index? And she says, look at me. According to the mass index, I am obese. I just won a medal at the Olympics.
Wow.
So, you're looking at the different body types. Be healthy, whatever healthy means for your body. So I'm usually I don't want to have the conversation about I want to lose weight. I'm like, okay, let's get stronger. Let's get you
Right.
more proficient. Let's get you have better cardiovascular fitness. And then we'll see what happens. And more mindfulness, as we always have in Pilates. We're really connecting the body and mind with our mindful movements. And I teach this, like all my clients can contest to that. If you're doing something, you better think about it.
Yeah, right. No rush. Take your time, think about it.
Think about
And
it
and any age can
at
come to
any
you.
age.
It's never too late.
It's never too late, ever.
I love that. So what's been your favorite podcast episode so far that you've not necessarily the guest, but just the topic?
On the Pursue Your Spark podcast,
Mhm.
I would say that, well, I have a whole bunch, but I dare say the one person that I interviewed who is a rock climber.
Oh.
She's in her 80s.
Oh my gosh.
Her son is a very world famous rock climber. And she somehow got into rock climbing. And then he took her under his wings and she started rock climbing I think she started in her 70s.
Wow.
And I don't know, to some people it means nothing, but El Capitan is a very steep mountain. It's very well known in the rock climbing community. And her son
Mhm.
had climbed that rock without a rope. So
Oh,
just what's called free climbing.
yeah.
So the two of them climbed El Capitan together. And they did it in one day, which is also a huge feat for somebody her age. And they had a rope, so she felt more secure, but she did the whole rock face. I mean,
Wow.
it's just, and she says, it really is it's your mind over body. She said, you look at me, I'm 80, but look at what I still do. Yeah, my feet are starting to hurt, and I have some arthritis, and I have all these things that want to hold me back. But I keep pushing forward and find something that brings me joy. And she's climbed pretty much all around Europe too. The last time I saw her, she was in France climbing with some people, a less
Wow.
challenging climb, but still, it's like rock climbing. For those of you who don't know, it's like hands, shoes that are really
Yeah.
pointed toes, and then you wedge your hands into the rock and you use your whole body weight and flexibility to pull yourself up this rock face.
Mhm.
I think this was, among others, a very inspiring story.
Totally. That makes me feel so lazy.
Do not feel lazy.
No, I should, because there's so many people that wish they were as able-bodied as I am, and so it's like you gotta put it into focus there. I do need to be
Absolutely.
better about moving my body because it doesn't have to be blood, sweat, and tears, just
Nope.
moving, just move around.
Just move. What
Yeah.
brings you joy? What is the fun thing? If you like to dance, go dancing. I see this one lady in my neighborhood, she's too cute. She walks down and then she listens to some music and she literally breaks out into the ballet moves and then she keeps walking. I was like, I love seeing her and she does not care what
That's
anybody
awesome.
thinks because she sees me, then she smiles and then she keeps dancing. She's like doing her little ballet moves.
Oh,
It's
that's great.
I would rather say, Don, instead of think I have to be better, look for what you are already doing. What are the things that you already do that are part of your fitness? That are we don't give enough credit that we
Yeah,
cleaned out the kitchen, that
right.
we gardened, that
Yeah.
whatever it is you're doing, it's like give yourself credit for the things you already are doing
Yeah.
and build on those. If you love to walk, walk further, walk faster, walk more hills. This is could be a challenge.
Mhm. Yeah, be
So,
better than I was yesterday.
yeah,
That's the goal. Are you writing a book?
I am writing a book, but I can't tell much about the book
No,
just yet
that's
because
fine.
I'm in the
Kudos.
beginning. I'm in the beginning phases.
I am so
I
proud of you. That is a hard thing to do. I've had lots of authors and talking. Love to read, so I just couldn't imagine taking all of what's in here and putting it on here. That's
I
huge.
talked to one of the authors that I interviewed for my podcast, and she's connected with me. She published her first book in her 80s.
Oh.
And so she's a little bit of my mentor, and she says, "You can call me anytime if you need some advice or anything, if you want to just cry because the editor just took your book apart." And she said, "Well, how's the book going?" I said, "It's a humbling and frustrating endeavor. I have these ideas and I have a great outline so far. I have filled many, many pages with the things that I want to relate to my midlife
Mhm.
audience. It is for the women in midlife. And the hint is I help you feel like yourself again."
That's wonderful.
So that's the book. But I worked on it yesterday, and you sit there and you have these ideas, and then you write it down, and then, but does it fit in this chapter? Does the story you're telling really work well with your idea of the book? But I said at one point, I only speak well. I can't write a book. And then I changed my mind and I said, why not me?
Mhm. Yeah.
I'm I'm not imposing a deadline. Initially, I said, "I'll finish my book in 2024." And my husband just looked at me, raised his eyebrows.
Remember, I have to live with you, honey.
And so I said, "All right, I am not putting a deadline, but I keep writing. I try to write every day as a discipline, or I do research every day, or I've bought, which is also funny, I bought books about writing books.
Mhm.
'Cause in the age of ChatGPT, you could probably write an entire book just using ChatGPT.
Yeah, right.
But with everything that I do or have done in the past, I want to learn the craft.
Mhm.
I want to know how do you build a chapter? How do you segment things? How do you put it together? And the science basically behind writing a book. And so I study in my books and see what I can learn from other people that gone before me.
Right.
So it is a labor of love, but I'm committed to it. And I already
Good
see
for
the
you.
cover. It's like it's got to be yellow or orange because that's what I'm going for.
I love it. I know you can do it too. You've got stick to itiveness, and so I'm sure you'll do it just like you tell other people. Don't
Yep,
set a deadline, just day by day. You'll
day
get
by
it
day.
done. Yeah,
Yep.
that's wonderful. Well, tell people how they can find you if they wanna reach out and use your services.
You can find me literally anywhere on social media under Heike Yates, which is HeikeYates. And I'm on LinkedIn, on TikTok, on YouTube, on Facebook, on Instagram, on Pinterest a little bit. But most of the time, you'll find me on Instagram, or some of you also on LinkedIn. And you can also listen to the Pursue Your Spark podcast for women in midlife, where I have one session where I have a guest, and then the following 2 weeks, so I do every other week,
Mhm.
I share some expert advice about health, mindset, fitness, nutrition, for women in midlife. And you can find this on all major platforms. It's called Pursue Your Spark. And if you see the video, you see Pursue Your Spark with a lady in flames.
I love it. Do you do any exercises for any of your videos? Like, do you show an exercise?
My all my programs except for one program, yep, there's, we have videos within the program, so I have a 8-week program that's a coaching program where I'm there with you for 8
Mhm.
weeks through, Pilates, exercise, strength training, nutrition. We talk about intermittent fasting as well. So we're incorporating intermittent fasting. And then I have other courses that are on your own. Here's 14 videos that you can work through on your own,
Okay.
which always include exercise. Always. So I show you Pilates, I show you strength, I show you balance exercises. I think it's a really good mix of it. And one of my courses is called Body Bloat, because one of the things that I have microscopic colitis
Okay.
that started 5 years ago. And if somebody doesn't know what that is, microscopic colitis is basically you have diarrhea all the time.
Oh my
There,
gosh.
there's you can't keep anything. Or
Oh.
your body doesn't absorb any nutrients. I should say that you can eat, but you constantly it goes through. You have no nutrients. And when it started, one of my clients said, "Heike, are you getting ready for competition? You look great." And I was like, "Yeah." I'm not eating, I'm not retaining any energy, so I'm losing weight because that's just what happened. And so microscopic colitis can happen to some women during the menopause as the hormones shift. And it's basically a leaky gut
Mhm.
where all the poisons come through, and that starts to end up in diarrhea for most people. And other people have really much more severe side effects. But that's when I started intermittent fasting. That's when I explored acupuncture. And I had also on YouTube, if you are the listener who's wants to know more about microscopic colitis, I recorded an episode that I hear so many women found so helpful, because it's my journey of not
Yeah.
just being put on a drug
Mhm.
and that stops your diarrhea, but I found ways to mitigate as best as I can. Do I still have the colitis? Absolutely. I ate something the other day, which I now know I'm allergic to, and I
Okay.
didn't know it was in the food, and it started again. And it's big, huge belly bloating and all this kind of stuff. So that's why I dove into intermittent fasting, which really helped me navigate this colitis way better than with anything else that I've done as a nutrition coach.
Wow. That's fascinating.
So,
Huh.
there's all these little things when you look at somebody, you say, "Look, she looks so great. Oh, she looks so healthy. She's got nothing. I got a bum knee. I got colitis."
We all have our stories, that's
We
for sure.
nobody is ever perfect. And if you see that on social, nobody's perfect. There's always a story behind it. But it's also how you deal with it. How can you overcome those roadblocks? And how do you set yourself up for success and confidence?
I love that. You should put that in your book.
Oh, thank you.
That was great. Well, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. I'll definitely check out your more episodes of your podcast, but thank you for your time and I will be in touch.
Thank you, Dawn. Thanks, listeners. It was nice to be here.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.